Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the video. Let's discuss AMD's finances. As many people are aware, it's fairly common knowledge, AMD have been having some financial problems of late. And despite the fact that there have been a slight improvement to their stock prices over the last couple of weeks, it is fair to say that AMD stocks as a whole this year have been fairly, let's just go with not good. Anyway, a private equity firm have been in contact with AMD and in discussion with AMD to purchase a 25% stake in the company. This company is known as Silver Lake, but discussions have actually fallen through between AMD and Silver Lake. Now, the reported reason, according to Bloomberg, is quite simple. They can't come to an agreement regarding either pricing or strategy. And so at the moment AMD are considering, and I quote, other strategic options. So AMD having financial problems isn't particularly new, despite the fact they have some really good IPs, despite the fact they're making chips for, let's say, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One. They've got a great range of GPUs and all this other stuff. They haven't actually been financially profitable since 2011, and in fact they are on course, according to Bloomberg, to have a 28% sales decline this year, which is obviously not particularly great. And indeed, shares of AMD are down 38% this year, which is pretty damn brutal. Now, to give you an idea of what this actually means in terms of their finances and that type of thing, at the moment the company's worth about 1.3 billion US dollars. Now, back in 2008, AMD, when they purchased ATI, I'm sure many of you are aware of that, obviously ATI originally were the holders of the Radeon brand, then they were bought out by AMD. AMD paid quite considerable amounts of money for ATI. In fact, they spent around 5.5 billion US dollars, which is a considerable chunk of change, and when you think about it in a very brutal type of way, it means the company's worth about a quarter of what they actually paid for ATI back in the day. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's not to say that everything's doom and gloom. Obviously AMD do have Zen, we all know about that. We know about the next generation GPUs, of course, that they're coming out with, like Nvidia next year. They're going to be on HBM2. They do have some pretty good IPs or should I say some good contracts with both Microsoft and Sony, but unfortunately those contracts are no longer paying quite what they were. They aren't quite so profitable now because the manufacturing costs have diminished. But there are some rumours that Microsoft are actually interested in either acquiring AMD, or they are possibly interested in putting some cash into AMD. Now, that could be a really good option for Microsoft, because obviously if they were to do that, it would make quite a considerable, well, headway towards Microsoft and their wish to provide cloud-based distribution, cloud-based servers and services. Plus, when one also considers that, you know, it would mean that Microsoft themselves would have a fairly good stranglehold on the market. They would have a really solid base in the PC market, both on the software side of things, because obviously AMD have quite a lot of interesting intellectual properties. These range from everything from Mantle, which we all know was the basis of Vulkan as well as DirectX 12, down to things such as TressFX and all of those type of technologies. Plus they have good GPU, CPU IPs coming out into the future, so who knows how Microsoft could leverage those with next generation gaming devices, maybe the next Xbox, what have you. Now, how likely is it Microsoft are going to put a stake in? Well, it's unknown. I mean, at the end of the day, AMD have also formed a new business division, which many of you are aware. I reported on just a while back. They have now created the Radeon Technologies Group, and that is now being headed up by Raja Koduri, and he certainly has his own vision for where he wants to, you know, push towards the GPU brand. And obviously, once again, they have Zen, which their engineers are being fairly boastful about. In fact, they just recently went on record and said, hey, you know what, we promise you that the performance for this new architecture is going to impress you. Now, whether it will or not, you know, when the actual thing comes out, it's a bit unknown, but AMD do seem rather confident. Anyway, this one is a bit of a sad state of affairs because I really hope AMD can sort out their financial problems at some point in the not too distant future, because obviously having more liquid assets, having more capital available would just help them. At the end of the day, they're being hamstrung because they just don't have enough cash available to do what they need to do. And that is a crying shame. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Who would you like to see invest cash into AMD? I don't think it would be Sony. Nintendo don't really have any reason to. Maybe they possibly will use AMD for obviously the NX contract, which has been rumoured for some time now. Microsoft are definitely a potential. There are also some who believe that Intel could buy it out, because while yes, Intel do have a really good CPU division, their GPU division is not as competitive as what they'd expect. And it's not like Intel are this all-encompassing CPU giant which no one can, you know, even slightly take on anymore. That's not the case. You've got Samsung and many others who are making these processors. And Qualcomm, Samsung, their CPU sales, because obviously they're producing these processors for, let's say, mobile phones and tablets, they're actually really impressive, and they're actually overtaking Intel. So Intel obviously want to solidify their base. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one, as I said. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.